Ladies and gentlemen, huge news, paradigm-changing news. Kyrsten Sinema is leaving the Democratic Party, registering as an independent. She will eventually become a Republican. It might take a couple of years, but she's in a red state. She is from Arizona. Arizona is historically a red state. He's not going to be a Bernie Sanders or just some kind of, Green Party Democrat from the Northeast who just wants to be independent for public relations purposes. She knows that eventually, the Arizona Republican Party and the Georgia Republican Party will side with a nominee, hopefully in 24, but eventually. And she understands that the Democratic Party despises her. The Republicans would love to have her. So hit subscribe to this channel, to my super chat. I cannot do this without you, ladies and gentlemen. Eric, Fazandu John, everybody here. Kyrsten, everybody here, thank you. Steven, thank you. So everybody here, thank you so very much for tuning in. This is a huge, huge day because it's probably the worst thing to happen to the Democratic Party, okay? They barely got the Senate, okay? They barely got the Senate. The Senate map doesn't look that great for them in a couple of years. And they just lost, they got the Senate because Herschel Walker lost by 100,000 votes, okay? You have to understand how close everything was, ladies and gentlemen. How close everything was. The issue is that the Democratic Party has turned into an organization where a lot of the politicians, in red states, they just go along with anything Democrats say. It's actually the opposite. The people in red states who vote Democrat are voting against their interests, okay? Real wages are down. We had a recession. Economists are predicting, and I've been predicting, a massive recession for a long time. That's coming, another recession that's coming in 23, unfortunately. Democratic policies, foreign policy is a catastrophe. You have inflation still at record highs, and it's just not good. People are voting against their interests, but they have every single conceivable advantage, from Jimmy Kimmel to late night up until recently with Twitter. So she's going to become a Republican eventually. She's in a red state. And you have state parties who just would rather have a Democrat than a Trump Republican. And that has to change. So they're doing the same things, like I said. High tones, hello. They're doing the same things. I said that eventually they would just investigate DeSantis. They're doing that now. They're investigating his donors. But I think DeSantis, hopefully, I'm hoping Trump or DeSantis forge ties or an olive branch with the Arizona Republican Party. Okay? Because you better believe the Arizona Republican Party is doing everything possible at this point to recruit Kyrsten Sinema. Here's the thing, she didn't just become independent because she just felt that, she wanted more freedom. She became independent because she was not really accepted by the Democratic Party. She doesn't really believe any of the things that they believe. So, for example, they have an Inflation Reduction Act. The inflation rate went up initially. You don't reduce inflation by pumping money into the economy, okay? You reduce inflation by allowing businesses and corporations to work and to engage in capitalism and not shut down economic activity because really smart people tell you to do so. When Democrats shut down economic activity for 2 years, for a year and a half or so, gleefully in Democratic-run states, these governors shut down economic activity. You had supply chain breakdowns, and then you had $10 trillion of money pumped into the economy to replicate an economy. Kyrsten Sinema is probably not down with that. She probably doesn't want that. There are problems in the southern geographic region of our country. I mean, there are issues that Republican voters care about that are addressed by Trump Republicans, but the state parties don't like Trump. And they are not going to help a Trump Republican in any way, shape, or form. That's the issue. That's the issue. So this is huge, kind of all over the place. But she probably doesn't care for the foreign policy, which is just allowing a quagmire in Europe to fester and to just go on forever. She probably has a lot of problems with the Democratic Party. You had Tulsi Gabbard leave. You have Kyrsten Sinema leave. It is essentially a gigantic cult. That's why you have friends and family who won't speak to you, because it's the Democrats have turned into this groupthink form of tribalism where if you don't agree with them on everything, if you actually form a logical, rational rebuttal to one of their arguments, it's like a visceral reaction to them. They can't stand it. They get apoplectic. They're used to never hearing about their corruption, never hearing about their foul play on their side. Eric Samurai, hello. So, I mean, this is a huge, huge win. Again, see, I'm not giving up on Trump. I think that Trump is the greatest president in terms of accomplishments of my lifetime. Okay? Reagan, President Obama did not accomplish what Trump did. Abraham Accords, Doha Agreement, first president to step foot in North Korea. We had record low poverty under Trump. But in terms of, and he single-handedly transformed the House of Representatives to Trump Republicans primarily. He hasn't the Senate yet. Trump Republicans barely lost the Senate because Mitch McConnell did them in. And state parties did them in also. They were not embraced by state parties. Now, the next piece of the equation, the piece of the puzzle, is that Trump has to capitalize on the missteps of his political adversaries, and he has to form alliances or, give an olive branch to Secret Spaceship, hello. He has to give an olive branch to these state parties. He has to find a way to circumvent or eventually replace Mitch McConnell. What Trump has to do, and what DeSantis could possibly do better at this point, because Trump ran the whole race relay, the Olympic track and field match. Trump did most of that all himself. Okay, you might say, well, then he deserves a second chance. I agree with you on that, but here's the issue, okay? How are you going to take advantage of this monumental shift in American politics now? So Kyrsten Sinema has become an independent. She's on her way to becoming a Republican. She's not stupid. She understands what's going on. She understands exactly that the future, her political future, okay, is not within the Democratic Party. Her political future is within the Republican Party. She's not going to jump in right now because I don't like to say this. The Republican Party does not have a leader yet. I didn't realize this. Now, Trump is the most popular. Trump runs the Republican Party, but he doesn't lead it. You see the difference, ladies and gentlemen? For years, I would say, look, Trump is leading the Republican Party. He is the most important thing. Trump is the most important politician in the GOP. And I don't care about political parties. I'm not even, believe me, the vote blue no matter who people, they have to vote Democrat all the time, even if the policies stink, even if poverty is up. They made a big deal. Oh, in 2021, poverty rates have gone down. Now they're back up. They're up, way up over 2019. Poverty nationally is close to 15%. And the only reason oil and gas are down is because of recession fears. That's the issue. That's the issue, ladies and gentlemen. Recession fears. It's not that the economy is great and the oil and gas industry is running smoothly and there are no problems in terms of geopolitics. No, I mean the fact that oil and gas is down is only because the global economy and they're still the most populous country in the world has shut down large parts of its economy because of you know what. So there you go. Okay, if the world was running smoothly right now, oil would be at like 150, 160, 170 per barrel. It would break all-time highs of like 150. Okay. The thing with Kyrsten Sinema I think that it's an important point, ladies and gentlemen, to make is that Trump has to capitalize and he has to take advantage in terms of politics. Okay, here's something that I've been thinking about that I think is important for everybody to understand. If you're watching this channel, you watch H.A. Goodman on YouTube. We're over 200,000 subs. Explain to me about. I actually respectfully want to know your viewpoint on the oil and gas. So, if I'm wrong, let me know in the comment section. But, If you have Republicans, okay, who agree with Trump, who like Trump, but don't want the media backlash, the media retribution, what do you do? So, ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you a question. If you have Republicans, what do you do? That like Trump's policies, but they don't like the endless media backlash. Okay, what do you do? So Kyrsten Sinema likes. You could tell that she would be a fine "Make America Great Again" Republican, because most red state voters are "Make America Great Again" Republicans. They want a great economy and a great foreign policy. They want an anti-interventionist foreign policy. The Libertarian Party is the reason that Herschel Walker didn't win. Okay, he was down by what, less than 40,000 votes, a little over 40,000 votes, and he lost by over 80,000, well over 80,000. Okay, that's a red state. That's a red state. These are the Georgia and Arizona are the kryptonite of Donald Trump. 2024, they would do him in. They do not want. It's not about the Democratic Party. This isn't, in a way, has nothing to do with the Democratic Party, ladies and gentlemen. It really has nothing to do with the Democratic Party yet. I mean, like it does. You know, the Democrats and they're investigating. You can look right now. They're investigating DeSantis. I mean, I said they would. I know they would. DeSantis, Florida GOP donor, DeSantis ally under active investigation. They're going to investigate anyone associated with DeSantis also. And they're not going to ever charge, or they'll eventually either get a plea deal, or I don't know when they'll indict Hunter. But the the impeachment of Joe will take place, but they're already going after DeSantis. I understand they'll do the same thing against DeSantis, but the state parties might back DeSantis. That's the issue. The state parties might back DeSantis. The state parties in Arizona and Georgia will not back Trump. This is like an obstacle that he has to address. Ricky, I agree. But see, that's the thing. It's like, here's where it becomes a tricky situation or a delicate situation, okay? right now, the Republican Party understands that Donald Trump is the most important politician. The Republican Party has been revitalized, revamped, transformed by Donald Trump. Okay? As a thank you, they have undermined him with Trump Russia, an absurd hoax where the Mueller probe was a categorical failure. They don't give him support in key swing states, that like places that should never really be swing states. But in Georgia and Arizona, the Republicans perhaps are petrified of, negative media coverage. And with Trump, that's all they get. They don't want to be labeled as prejudice and all this. Okay? Is it fair? No, it's not fair. They'll do the same thing with DeSantis. But see, that's one thing that, Trump has to overcome that. That's my point. Trump in the past 3 weeks has had numerous reasons to just jump for joy. We have Twitter. So Twitter has shown without a shadow of a doubt that government did get involved. You had House Democrats influencing Twitter. And you had House Democrats influencing Twitter to silence conservative voices. And you had the Twitter officials, one of whom might have lied under oath, Jack Dorsey, when he said, "Oh yeah, we don't shadow ban or we don't go after anyone based on political viewpoints." Well, that was a lie. Trump has to take advantage of that. Somebody does, because the Republican Party isn't really taking advantage of it. Democrats walk in lockstep, even with recession, even with a geopolitical nightmare in Europe. It's categorically worse. It's categorically worse, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? The economy is, without a shadow of a doubt, worse than it was in 2019. But in 2019, people were just obsessed with Trump's personality like they are now. I mean, I think that people should look at this in, you're going to get, if Biden gets impeached, and he will, when Biden gets impeached, let's say Sinema next year becomes a Republican. Okay, let's say they find out criminal activity, that not only did they silence voices at Twitter, but they did engage in criminal activity, or they categorically broke the First Amendment. How are you going to profit from this politically? Because then, if Trump has a dinner or Trump says something that doesn't make too much sense on Truth Social, how are you going to benefit? That's my point. Do you want to go through the same thing in 24 with, I'm not trying to say move away from Trump. I'm not saying that. I hope that he is reborn like a phoenix from the ashes, and I hope that he Kevin, hello. I hope that he can get his mojo back. Okay? I hope that he can go ahead and get his mojo back. But there has to be a way to benefit from this politically. That's the point. Part of the reason Trump doesn't get along with Arizona and Georgia is that local papers and local media despise Trump, and Trump despises the Republican state parties, and the Republican state parties they have utter disdain for Trump. There's like a constant battle between Trump and these GOP Republican state parties in Arizona and Georgia. How can he fix that? How can he address that situation? That's something worth discussing. That's something that's worth discussing, ladies and gentlemen. That's an issue that I think is really important. And by the way, I will have a live stream. Tonight at around 9 p.m., so definitely be here for the live stream at 9 p.m. But, what? Bizarre. Definitely be here for the live stream at 9 p.m., ladies and gentlemen. I will be here. at 9 p.m. for another live stream. We'll probably talk about this and a whole bunch of things. But like, for example, we just found out, ladies and gentlemen, that Dan Bongino, Charlie Kirk, all of these people, Josh, hello, all of these people, Big Daddy, hello, all of these people were shadow banned on Twitter, okay? At the end of the day, where the corruption is being exposed. Everyone knows now. Everyone knows that Democrats have been lying, media have been lying, and they're still lying. They're doubling down. That's the issue. They're doubling down. They are doubling down, ladies and gentlemen. They don't care. They are never going to admit that they utilized every advantage at their disposal. They're never going to admit that they silenced opposing viewpoints, broke First Amendment laws, and they won't admit that. They won't admit that. They're going to just double down and say, well, it's not that big of a deal, and there was context, and we had to do this because, people were saying really bad things and mean things, and we had to make sure that the public was safe, because the public needs to be safe, and only we can safeguard the public. Only we can protect people from information that misinforms. Like, you had Elton John today leaving. It's like, who cares? Why would that be an issue? Only in this country would that be an actual story. Here, hold on one second. Elton John is quitting Twitter. Policy will let information that misinforms flourish. No, it's not information that misinforms. It's information Democrats don't like, that is disputed, that where there's an opposing argument that's rational, logical, reasonable, and where Democrats don't have an actual rebuttal for it, or where they have to acquiesce, or where they have to maybe lose an argument, maybe take the L, maybe not enforce their sensibilities, which is what this comes down to. You're enforcing sensibilities on a lot of topics. You're saying, well, our risk-reward, our cost-benefit analysis is the right way to think. Our way of living is the right way to live. Our foreign policy, even though it's a categorical catastrophe, without a shadow of a doubt, a catastrophe. If you disagree with it, oh my God, you can't do that either. You can't even dispute viewpoints on. You can't dispute. There are sacred cows. You should be able. There was no such thing as information that misinforms before 2015. This is a euphemism for an opposing viewpoint that Democrats do not like. It's arrogance. The government has been wrong routinely, and this is where the consensus starts, where information that is accurate and informs. When information informs, there's a consensus. The consensus is a fabricated consensus. So, then you have The Atlantic, and says the Orwellian, Elon Musk doesn't want transparency. Well, why would he not want transparency? He just literally showed everyone the internal messages. Oh, there's the context. Yeah, the context is very bad for Deming. He actually doesn't want transparency. Yes, he does. It's like these people are like The Atlantic is pretty much the opposite of what they say is true in most cases. So here, a set of documents, the screenshots are fascinating, but the Twitter files entries are sloppy, anecdotal, devoid of context. No, they're not. See, again, these are all opinion-based subjective words. You understand? What Democrats want to do is enforce their sensibilities. To my super chat, thank you again. I can't do this without you. Weiss's thread purports to show how Twitter restricted the reach of several large accounts. Via the internal screenshots, it argues that Twitter, contrary to its public claims, shadow banned conservatives. Okay, there you go. This is a template, by the way. They address the corruption, and then they do everything possible to try to justify rampant corruption. So they just acknowledged, The Atlantic acknowledged that, yeah, they did lie about banning, but the subjectivity of moderation decisions across the social web poses tremendous and complicated problems. No, they don't. No, not in 2015. Nobody cared. We didn't even have this discussion in 2015 before Democrats took full control of Twitter. So the subjectivity and moderation decision, which is precisely why journalists and academics, who cares what journalists and academics believe on any issue? That's their opinion, have paid close attention to it for more than a decade. Yeah, they're liberal. These people have a liberal viewpoint. Academics are brilliant oftentimes. Journalists are very courageous oftentimes. I really don't care what they think should be silenced or suppressed or banned. It's not important to me. And then Democrats with the straw man, Florida, DeSantis. No, that's for people of a certain age. That has to do with parents. See, this is why they can't possibly win any debates. What they do is they move away from the initial discussion onto their sensibilities. But there's no secret plot. These claims largely comport with what Twitter has publicly said. These claims largely comport? What? No, they don't largely comport. Notice how everything, you go from, here's the Republican or the Trump Republican or DeSantis Republican argument. They said they didn't shadow ban. We found out they shadow banned. End of story. You got totally exposed for who you are. Liars. But now the rebuttal is, but honestly, we've been talking about it for a long time. It's really, people have been wringing their hands. Really smart people like journalists and academics. And we already knew that decisions were made by top Twitter officials. Yes, decisions were made by top Twitter officials. How is that a rebuttal? How is that a rebuttal to anything? How on earth is that a rebuttal to anything? That is not a rebuttal. You can't refute the fact that these people are liars by saying, well, we already knew that they would be liars. No. Or they had a really tough decision to make. No, can't do that. Can't just do that. Since May 2018, Twitter has noted that it will change how a user appears. Yeah, okay, so they slow-walked the treachery. Congratulations. I do not believe that Elon Musk cares about the thorny particulars of content. The thorny particulars have to do with liberal sensibilities. Isn't it interesting how thorny particulars, how Republicans or Trump himself don't care about the thorny particulars? You understand? This is the template, and it's not just the Atlantic. It's a verbose onslaught of liberal sensibilities, thousands upon thousands of words, where they're basically saying, it's true, we banned conservatives, but at the same time, a lot of smart people, a lot of really smart people agree that should have happened. High Tones Drifter! I will start the ball rolling, H.A. Haley. High Tones Drifter, thank you! Thank you, High Tones Drifter. Greatly appreciate it. To my super chat. Thank you. Exactly, Steven, exactly. Who's to say what's information that misinforms? Exactly. Who's the gatekeeper? They want to be the gatekeeper. Exactly. High Tones, thank you. Thank you, High Tones. Greatly appreciated. Thank you. And so what they do is they start off by acknowledging the corruption and then explain The corruption was done in slow motion because of bureaucratic. So when they fall back on bureaucracy, they love appeals to authority when the authority sides with their initial viewpoint. Their initial viewpoint has always been it doesn't matter and it's actually very good if conservatives are banned. That's their initial viewpoint. Then when they're caught in the act with their hand in the cookie jar, or when they're caught with their pants down literally, they say, well, you don't understand. These are very thorny particulars. These issues are very difficult to really understand. They're really difficult to understand, you know. There's a lot of things going on. Yeah, so what? So what? We understand this. We get it. But see, again, like, you have to have Trump take advantage politically. And I think at this point, he might have wounded himself politically so many times. It worked, people. It took me a long time to realize the media meltdown worked. They have screamed and yelled and shouted at the top of their lungs. They have twisted and manipulated everything Trump has said. But see, Trump played that game also. He wanted them to twist and manipulate his words. And now it's just Trump terminates the Constitution. He wants to terminate the Constitution. Even Elon Musk is forced to say, yeah, you know what? Any presidency, the Constitution is greater than any presidency. So it's like, I mean, how are you going to take advantage of this? How are you going to how are you going to how are you going to make sure that you can take advantage of this? But here, Musk admitted that he hadn't actually looked at the files yet, although that didn't stop him from making a bonehead statement like suggesting the content improved. It wasn't bonehead. It was a First Amendment violation because Democrats were involved. They got involved through third-party tech firms or polling firms or other the public relations firm. In fairness, the Twitter files do show that the company makes amplification decisions. Hello? Yeah. That's the whole point. He wants to be aggrieved. So here's the issue. When they take advantage, when they go ahead and here's the thing. It's like this arrogance involved with how political discussions. You have to understand, they're very, very good, ladies and gentlemen. They're very good at not addressing, at just doubling down on corruption. Okay, so they don't really care. They're like, well, it's bureaucracy and it just happens. And so what matters more than the content of the Twitter files is the constant buildup. No, the content matters more than anything. And the framing of their release as a breakthrough act of unprecedented. Yes, it is unprecedented. They lied. This is the same thing with the Democratic National Committee. It signals indisputable proof that the audience is about to see something big. Yeah, they did see something big. And as so often the case online, the signal alone seems to be enough. No surprise, then, that writers behind the Twitter files and Musk are constantly teasing about the next installment. The plot that's just out of reach is always more powerful than the one that was supposed to be revealed. Yeah, it is true. Each revelation is even more important than the other. It's like, but their entire, the way Democrats argue is, that's not even that big of a deal. It's never, oh my God, this is terrible. How can we stand for this? It's always, what's the big deal? Oh, no, so what? So what? With Trump, it's the end of the world. See, that's an issue, ladies and gentlemen. That is an issue. That's an issue. And that's why I say, like, there has to be a, like, Trump either has to get back on Twitter. I cannot find his Truth Social account. Do you realize, ladies and gentlemen, that unless you're subscribed to Truth, unless you have an account on Truth Social, you don't know what the heck he's talking about or what he's saying. I spent like 5 minutes last night, maybe 10 minutes on the live stream, trying to find out how to get to Trump's Truth Social. He's like completely invisible now. He's banned on every platform. Or he's back. He could be back on Twitter. But it's like unbelievable. It's like unbelievable. So you have a situation where, like, I agree with you, Eric. You have a situation where Trump is allowing the media narrative to decide his future. And he had an announcement. He announced his presidency, okay? He announced that he was going to run. And, like, he then immediately followed that up with a political disaster in terms of a dinner that he was blindsided with. He did not understand what was happening. He did not understand that Ye brought somebody that he had no knowledge of. I don't even know, like, all these bigots and, like horrible nationalists. I have no clue who they are until Democrats and liberal media outlets publicize their name for the entire planet to hear. Like, these are the people who was like, oh, why are you platforming these people? Then you find out who they are. And I debated one of these people. And I defeated him in a debate. It's on this channel. But it's like, I wouldn't know. I never knew who that person was. You wouldn't know who Kanye West's friend was. Ye's friend was. I mean, you have, like, the people don't, like, here's the thing. It's like, people don't realize that, or I don't think Trump realizes that he has to circumvent the media hysteria. If he can't circumvent or overshadow the media hysteria, it's, Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much. High Tones, thank you. I will have a live stream tonight. I will have a live stream tonight at around 8, 9 p.m. Pacific. Please go ahead and be here. And, ladies and gentlemen, thank you, people. I wanted to do this. Pretty huge news. And I don't think people truly understand how enormous this is. But it is really important. Give me your thoughts.